That's right. I suppose we need
final thoughts.
Yeah, final thought.
Like Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer style. Need to finish off with some like sort of takeaways for the future. Like your advice for people going into this space or along those sort of lines.
So, are you? Well, I mean, I suppose advice in terms of. I mean, if you look at let's take that SRMC crowd. I mean, what are you up to now? What number?
I think we're just shy of 2,000 people have gone through the program.
2,000.
Yep.
And I think,
Face to face plus the onliners.
SMC 62 was out.
SRMC 62. So
just like the UFC, every course had got a number.
Yeah. How many have you got in the next course?
55 in the next course.
55. I mean, okay. So I think, certainly I can speak from the courses, and I know I've not spoken as an instructor on the course for a while now, maybe a year or so. But I mean, I can only speak from some of the people I've trained on there, and from my own experiences. You've had people I know of. I mean, you've had people from some of the world's largest companies. I remember there was a guy from CNN, wasn't there? There was the other guy from was it Sony Movies, wasn't that as well?
Yeah, Sony. Anything.
So I think you've got to work out what you really want to do. You don't really have to do that. Sometimes it will take you in a completely different journey. No, I never knew I would sort of end up in cyber from doing, a course of a similar flavour. I think my advice is you've got to keep chipping away at it. Don't get disheartened if you don't go on an SRMC course and then expect that that's it. Now you're going to land your security management job. You've got to get out there. You've got to be in your market. You've got to keep chipping away at it. If you want to go in the cyberspace, there's two routes. Well, there's several routes, but there's the technical route. There's the non-technical route. If you're going to go down the technical route, you've got to download the tools. You've got to play with the tools. You've got to keep chipping away at that. People say, it's okay to fail and all that sort of stuff. I don't agree with that. I think it's not okay to fail. You've got to try and it's okay to have setbacks, but you've got to keep forging forward. When you go into a room like an alumni event, you've got to walk away with 5 friends. It's things like that where you've got to just you don't think you can do it just purely by yourself. I always remember in the security, and it used to wind me up actually. You'd get people say, I'm not going to put my name to that person, or I'm not going to put, you don't have to. Open the door and let them do it themselves.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? And sometimes there's so many people who get so protective over their own personal brand.
Or so closed, their way of thinking, I think.
Yeah.
It's a funny industry for that, and there's a bit of a sceptical side in the elements of it.
Yeah.
They just don't want to put their name to anything.
Like a good networker we all know, which will remain nameless, but I always remember that kind of networking, which I think we all share the same thing, is about giving more than you ever wish to sort of receive back.
Yeah.
If you're that way, obviously now and again you're going to get burnt, but don't change the person you are just because you're operating in business. Where some people see it. Obviously, it is. I don't know. See it in a very competition way of where they're very untrusting and sort of. But you ain't gonna like. You're only going to get so far in life if it's just you, or kind of like life is about.
All the success stories have come from the people that have networked the best.
Yeah.
All the examples.
It's
I
not
won't
just
name names,
what you
but
know.
the people that have gone down the media route, they're the ones that have gone, I'll buy everyone a coffee and I'll go and meet them, and someone will give you the time of day. It's the people who've, I could put that down. Every single success story we've got that's gone through the SRMC that's doing really, really well now. Have all had that similar thread through it where they've networked really well and they communicated it and they got out to the right people and they've forged a path that it's not going to be completely linear, but they found a way into what they really want to do and they're focused on a goal and got there. And you being one, mate, you focus on that was it. You were going down that cyber route, and you might have probably gone somewhere where you didn't necessarily see yourself going in insurance, and then where you are now. Especially Pete will say that, the job you're doing now, you definitely wouldn't have thought about doing that.
You're head of law enforcement, mate, and if you remember,
I'm not the head of law enforcement. Let's just.
It's now your title, head of law enforcement.
It's known for making up titles.
Defence, military, and law enforcement for the Science Institute.
Cool.
But
having law enforcement in title compared to the Sharif Gardner we talked about in De Garcia, does seem a bit. But also that just shows you are like and numerous people other people who come on the first week of the podcast. Your people like your Pete Klein, your Mark Grant, your Anthony Sherlock, who really sort of it's not cunning, but like they invested almost like at a cost to go, right, this is who I'm going to become. And I know I can only go so far by doing it. I've got to invest in meeting people for a coffee, sharing ideas, helping people out. And actually, it's kind of like social media where people are like, because they don't see the instant return from it. Oh, don't do that. Because,
open doors for people, it's still down to them to walk through it. The amount of people, and I've been very fortunate, and it does genuinely makes you feel good. People who come up and say, "Oh, Sharif, thank you for linking me up with this person." It's down to them after that. I can't do any more. I'm not putting my name to say, because I've not necessarily worked with that person, but I'll open a door all day long for someone. It's down to them, especially someone who's invested in themselves. And I think that's the thing, with the SRMC, if I can see somebody's invested in themselves, they clearly want to do something with their lives that that specific course will take them. And it's the same, with SANS. I look at SANS is quite similar to Frontier Risks and the SRMC. SANS is a community organisation. Sorry?
It's a little bit bigger than us, but...
No, but the model in some respects is quite similar in the sense that you have world-class training, and that's backed up by a massive community, like a huge community. The alumni is like 40,000 a year, I think, in some
similar.
But the point is a whole load of stuff that SANS will give back to the community because it matters, it helps. But it's down to that community to network with each other to solve their own problems. I think my other advice, certainly for the demographic that I know will end up on the SRMC, the military demographic, you've got to learn to sell yourself. Too many people in the military are nervous about putting themselves out there. They don't want to seem a bit corny, a bit cheesy, a bit, they can sometimes be a little bit too reserved. You're going to have to rip up the rule book a little bit, because the best person to sell yourself is fit for you to sell yourself to a degree. And I know that's quite a tricky thing to do. I've been fortunate enough to work with guys. Oh, sorry. I've been fortunate enough to work with people from the same background as us, the Royal Marines. I've pretty much worked in my whole career. I've managed to work with people from that background, and ironically, you get some of the most diverse people from a Royal Marines background. So even though I've to a degree stuck to my own in many instances, it's worked for me. Don't get me wrong, I've made mistakes as well with Royal Marines in sort of hiring and things like that. But by and large, it's been a good demographic for me to pick from and work with, because again, there's just that attitude of excellence. There's the whole sort of commando values bit of cheerfulness in adversity and all of those things. You're getting that as a base benchmark of person that you're going to work with. So help each other out. You've got to help each other out, but equally people have got to help themselves out, and they invest in themselves as well.
Touching on what you just said, but I might not articulate this as well as I should perhaps, but we've had this conversation before. When somebody's come, you're proud of your background you've got, which I think is a negative for some people. They can't leave it go. For if you wanted people to know you've got a Royal Marine background, you'd let them know in a certain way. But also, you could easily never know that you were ever in the military or anything before. Where some people, I think, struggle with, obviously, their identity is strong, and it becomes a negative where they can't let it go. Almost, in that, where business doesn't really care that you've done X, Y, Z. So
you're not owed anything. I think that's the bit that you quickly find out that it almost...
The market doesn't care.
It's not that it doesn't matter, because certainly there's some values and skills and leadership qualities, all those bits that you have from a lengthy career, and equally some of the people we've seen that have done the best in this industry have been the ones that had a very short career and have gone out there probably maybe with a bit more hunger, or didn't feel like they were owed something. I think that's a common theme as well.
For me, the best people that I have found in this space, whether military background or not, but mostly from a military background, because I can make those connections. Do not dine out on your successes and failures for too long. Like, it doesn't help you. People aren't that interested eventually. Like, people are interested to a point, but if you keep, if you dine out on those too long, they're not interested. So when it comes down to failures, pick yourself up, dust yourself off. Don't accept failure. In my opinion, if you want to go after a career in whatever space it is that you're going after, you've got to own that. You've got to grip that. You've got to chase that career, because nobody else is going to do that. Most people I've met will give you the time of day for a coffee. Sometimes I'm terrible at getting back to people, but pin me down in the right position, and I'll always try and help somebody in that sense. But equally, don't sit there dining out on the successes. I don't sit there walking around with a badge that says SRMC creator because that's your course and that's your successes. You've got to be able to just move on to the next thing. Don't expect a leg up. Although, hopefully if it all goes wrong for me, I've got a job back with you. I've got a job back with you guys,
Well, we needed to clean it, didn't we?
Yeah. So, and hopefully these things come full circle, but don't expect them to come full circle. You've got to make it work for yourself. And that's probably my closing bit on that.
And I suppose just to finish off, very last point, unless you've got something to say, one of the key things that people probably don't know about you is the dancing thing, like to the ballet dancing.
It's in the heritage, right?
In the heritage somewhere. Yeah. There's nobody I know that can. There's nobody I know that can move like you.
Yeah, I'm arguably that that's one success I will dine out on.
Hopefully somebody will see this podcast now and ask you to produce this, because obviously it rarely comes out, but when it does, mate, it is something.
I will make you laugh. Both of my boys are desperately trying to learn how to moonwalk. And they're 9 and 7, well, soon to be 10 and 8, and they're getting there. Certainly, my oldest he's very, very close. And
I'm born on the same day.
Yeah, that's
born on the same day. Yep.
Which I just told somebody about.
Yeah,
pretty cool. That is.
Talking of birthdays, it's Pete's birthday today as well, mate. So.
Yeah. 52,
40 today.
We've been saying he's 50 for years, but people still going with it.
44.
Not quite there yet.
44
and hanging out. 44.
Yeah,
Good point to end, mate. I think, we'll keep watching your journey, mate. I'm sure there's another little sweep right or left in it somewhere where you're going to end up doing something completely different. But
no,
in the cyberspace. But
I'm definitely, 41 years old now. I'm the veering off for now is. It's not on the agenda.
Is that in case the bosses are listening?
No, it's a genuine. I'm quite settled, and that's the other thing as well. I will say, just one final thing: don't be bouncy. Too many people, For me, if you're going to make a success of something, you've got to stick at it. You've got to try and make it a success. Typically, in my, whether it's the same company or the same role, you've got to really try and land, be productive and get it in a better space than you took it on, and somebody else to maybe take it on. And I've found certainly in the cyber insurance industry, I think that we created, certainly my team that I had there, we created something brand new that hadn't really been done before. But that they then went to take it on to the next phase. But you've got to, things take time as well, but not too much time. But you've got to keep chipping away.